welcome to very exciting, interesting podcast today. Here on Afro Groove Express, we like to bring information that can help you in your musical career, dance, singing, songwriting. And I have a very special guest with us today, and I have Brandon Miranda. So Brandon is a Grammy-nominated music producer, engineer, and a project manager with over 6 years experience in the music business. He has worked with renowned artists like Justin Bieber and Dolla, and his music has been featured on platforms like Meta, Netflix, and Paramount Plus. Brandon's expertise bridges the gap between artistic vision and financial success, making him a perfect guest to discuss the intricacies of music business. As whatever genre of music you're in, here in Afro Groove, we are more into Afro beats. So if you're into Afro beats, an Afrobeat artist, musician, performer, dancer, you want to listen to this whole podcast and you will have something that you will take home with. So Brandon, it's a pleasure.
This is the first time that I've ever done a live stream in the same room. But Ike, thank you so much for being in my studio today. I appreciate it.
We made it work. Excellent. So thank you, Brandon. Thank you for inviting me to your studio. Definitely, we have quite a bit to unpack in this conversation. First of all, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ike. Thank you so much for bringing me on. It's really a pleasure to be here today.
Okay. So what's been your most exciting project that you worked on recently?
Yeah, so recently I do a lot of music in the sync and the licensing space. So that's for film, TV, advertisements, all of that, right? We recently me and my songwriting team placed a record in a Tyler Perry series called Sisters.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And it was cool because it was a song that was only a minute and a half long. We did the session out in a studio in Houston with actually an unknown writer. She just happened to be a friend of a friend with an excellent voice. We paired them up, they did this song, just a verse, a chorus, boom, out of the studio. And then follow up about 9 months later, and then we got a sync placement and a check for the whole team. So it was awesome. It was actually really amazing. I didn't even finish the mix or the master or any of that kind of stuff. So it was a great reminder that music is very much about feel and utility and function. And sometimes that is going to actually be more important than the technicalities behind music.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. Right before we came on live, I think we had a small, when we were setting up the camera, you were talking about something you learned from reading Quincy Jones's book. That question that led to that was, what books or resources have had the most significant impact on your career?
So there's a Quincy Jones book called 12 Notes. I think it's 12 Notes for Success or 12 Notes for Creativity. He outlines the most important things that inspired his career and his creativity. And one of the biggest ones is he has a thing he calls the Goosebump test. So I know everyone has had that experience where you listen to a song or you see a movie or you read a book and it brings you almost to tears, or it gives you like the chills up in your spine. That's that feeling when your soul is being touched by that piece of work, right? And for him, he is always trying to get a record to that point. So he knows, he writes in his book, that once the record has reached that standard and reached that threshold, then he's finished his work. No more editing, no more reiterating, no more tweaking the mix, nothing. He knows as soon as you feel a certain deep emotion with that song, it serves its function, ship it, meaning release it, and on to the next record. And then if a song doesn't reach that standard, cool. That was an exercise. Every song that I compose makes me better. That'll be put off to the side, and we're going to keep reaching for that goosebump test.
I notice the way you're sitting like a Jedi master, yoga instructor. Let me try that move.
It feels good, right?
It feels very good.
Yeah.
It feels very good. What would you say is, you just told us the books you read. Can you tell us a major challenge you faced in your career and how you overcame it?
That's a great question. For those who are in the music industry right now and doing this, I know that the financial component and mastering that side of music can be one of the most difficult ones. The problem is right now is that not enough artists are out there doing their homework and understanding the mechanics of how the business works. Because we think we make our standard, oh, I'm going to get signed. And once I'm signed, I made it. But that's not money. That's a loan. that you're getting.
That's a loan?
Yeah, it's an
Oh, wow.
advance. And some of these labels actually charge interest, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Right? On top of that, too, you have a record label might say you have $1 million, but that's a budget. That doesn't mean you get all the $1 million right now.
To spend.
You need to go through certain loops for them to approve the opening to that cash. The perfect example is Kanye. Kanye had, I think, about his first deal was $1 million, which is barely anything, honestly, for an artist, especially of his caliber. But his first deal was $1 million. He had a fight to get his $40,000 of that million released so he could shoot his own music video. He ended up doing it on his own, out of his own pocket, right? So if you study the industry the right way, you'll be able to understand what to say yes to, what to say no to. This is how I can master my finances in it. And to be honest, there's no shame in working as you're building your career. I have a lot of friends who are really talented, but they're too willing to accept poverty. They're too willing to accept, not having a car, paying for a crappy apartment, just making it barely by, and also not having spendable income to travel, to spend time with their friends and the family, to go entertain themselves, whatever it is. In music and art, what comes out of you is dependent upon what's being put on you. And so if you're only in one environment all the time, if you're only watching the same stuff or listening to the same music, you're going to be one-dimensional as a creative. But if you're out here traveling, if you're out here spending time with people and filling up your soul with things that are important to you, your art will beget that. So my policy always is to any new musician who's coming up, find a job that pays the bills and then some more so you can be sound and sound in the mind, because poverty can actually really ruin someone's psyche.
Wow.
And if your psyche's not right, how can your art be right?
That's correct.
So go get that job, go get that money, and use that to reinvest into your career, and make sure, though I love working hard, and believe me, there's few people that can outwork me. But though I love it, it's also very important to make sure you have a space to rest and breathe in, because the better you rest, the better you will work.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us, Brandon.
Yes.
Okay. You went to Chapman University. How would you say your education in Chapman University has shaped or affected your career path?
That's an interesting question, because I used to make fun of people who went to college for music. I'm one of those guys. And here's what I did when I went to Chapman. I did 2 degrees. I did one in economics and I did one in classical guitar performance. No. Funny enough, let me ask you a question. Which one do you think I ended up using the most?
You said classical.
And business.
I think you're doing the classical.
It's crazy. Because you think getting the technical degree in business would actually serve me. I learned more about business and operating in business by working in the music industry.
Oh, wow.
Because it taught me, hey, business is very much about communication. Business is very about interpersonal. Also, the music business is very nuanced, that a general business degree won't give you a great foundation of how to work it. Nor do I really believe a lot of the music business programs out there in the world teach it the right way. I think the best way to learn the business, find someone who is working in it right now and ask them as much as you can, and then go out and start your own hustle so you can learn as you go. That way you can pair knowledge that you get from someone that's speaking to you, or a book that you're reading, with then also firsthand experience, which then becomes understanding.
Amazing.
So Chapman, going to school for music, I think actually was a wise investment, because for me, going to school for an instrument and learning music theory and classical instruments and all that, that gave me another edge. It gave me the capacity to teach music. It gave me the capacity to understand music and communicate with musicians and producers. It made me more well-rounded. I'm not saying that's what everyone should do, but at least for myself, once I learned how to work the education, then it really started to bring value to my career.
Now, when you say teach music, what kind of curriculum would you cover as a teacher of music?
The blessing of my career is I know a little bit about everything now, especially having that background in music theory and classical music. It gave me the confidence to be able to score films. It gave me the confidence to compose. It gave me the confidence to conduct or play jazz sessions, right? And so whenever I teach music, I have the ability to teach everything from the Pro Tools and FL Studio and production and engineering, all the way down to this is how a C major scale works, and this is how we can create and build chords out of that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So Brandon, talk to us. Let's say this show is primarily centered on Afrobeats. What has been your experience about Afrobeat, or how close have you come to Afrobeat? Which artists in Afrobeat have you worked with or want to work with, or are you most excited about?
Yeah, so I've actually been very fortunate. My first big internship was actually for a very well-known African musician and producer. His name's Lovi Langomba, right? He and his family goes back probably 5 or 6 generations. Langombas were very big in Congo and in Kenya. So let me backtrack a bit too, because my dad is Mexican and my mom's Puerto Rican. So I grew up listening to Luis Miguel. I grew up with a lot of the similar rhythms that are influenced from Afrobeat. So when me and I call him Papa, when me and Papa Lovi came together and he opened this whole world to me, I was like, it almost felt like I had listened to all of this music before I even had heard it.
Oh, wow.
Right? You know, one of those like destiny moments. And as soon as I was in the studio with him, every single day, I would work my day job. I'd get to the studio around 9 p.m. and I'd be there till like 4 or 5 a.m. every single day. And every single day, it's just like all day long. And what was cool too was not that we just work on like Afro beats and producing, but we also had some significant artists walk the door to work with him. So I got to assist and engineer. We had Akon as a regular artist that would come in. We had a WizKid. We had a Bipolar Sunshine. And this was also the time when Afrobeat was really breaking into the mainstream, right? So Drake's More Life had just come out. You had Major Lazer really exploding and doing like a lot of Caribbean and African influence and baile funk influence records and stuff. So my foundation as a music producer was really grounded in Afrobeat. So it's cool now when I make records, one of my most confident genres to compose in happens to be Afrobeat and reggaeton.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Anyways, my mind is just going to some very amazing creative things in the future, where I even foresee us creating a beat here or an Afrobeat song through this whole thing that we are doing.
That'd be cool.
And will help that artist that's part of that creation. If that's your path in life, your dream might just come through on this channel.
That'd be cold. That'd be really sick, actually.
Wow. The sky's the limit.
Isn't it?
I was listening to Timberland, right? He was doing a course. It was a course, one of these online courses. He was talking about music, how he makes beats. So it was just profound. When I heard the way he makes beats, I think he says he makes some sound with his tongue, with his mouth, you know, before he goes to paper or to put anything down. But the beat comes from him, from his head, the way he just plays with his note. That's amazing, right?
It's crazy. Look, I've actually had the pleasure to work with him in the studio.
You worked with Timberland?
I have in the past.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's very cool. Actually, it's so like one time I had a session with a young artist who loved Tim, and Tim came into the session. He heard the song that the artist was working on. He does a Tim face like, oh. And that's how you know he likes it, right? It looks like he ate something real bad.
Okay.
He's like, he goes into the booth, and Tim does the classic into the mic onto this kid's beat. And the kid is like,
He froze.
cheesing. Yeah, he's like, that was cool. Tim leaves when he's done. He's like, yo, Tim just beatboxed on one of my songs. That was surreal. But to get back to your point, Tim, a lot of the greats, you can tell that the music is inside of them. It's already in their head, and this moment of inspiration, they can already see the entire song before it's even come out of their mouths. Another one like that is Akon. I remember watching him the first time in a session, and Akon he had his eyes closed the entire time. He was sitting in the microphone with his entire song, top to bottom, without writing down any single lyric. It was all in his head. He started from the chorus of the song, boom, 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 constructed it, did all his background vocals, and it was in a matter of 35 minutes. Dang, like the mastery, the level of natural talent mixed with mastery of a lot of the great artists is truly incredible. And when you get to be in the room with them, it's beautiful to see just like the song just breathe itself out of them.
Creativity.
Massive creativity.
Name two big artists, not music. Da Vinci.
Da Vinci.
And there's another one, Michelangelo.
Okay.
Michelangelo. I think what he does is he visualizes his painting, then he paints his dream. He doesn't deviate from whatever he dreamed of. He just puts it on canvas, and that's the masterpiece of Michelangelo. So that's what you're saying about music. So imagination is an amazing thing when it comes to creativity.
Oh, imagination is the most important part. You design things before you create them. And so if you don't create anything from the basis of a vision that you received, then you're just reacting to the art, and now the sounds or the colors, they're dictating you. But when you become that creator that actually sees what it is before you create it, now that's something different. And that's when you know the creativity is coming from upstairs.
Amazing. Brandon, what are some key strategies for bridging the gap between artistic vision and financial success in the music industry?
This is my favorite question. Do your homework. I say this to the camera. Do your homework. Be hungry to study how the business works. Be hungry to study where the money comes from. How do you make money? How much money can you expect from 1 million streams? How much money can you expect from it? Right homework and technical understanding will help you be able to plan right and set your expectations properly too for when you release records. So the more you build a structure and treat your art like a business, the more freedom it'll give you to actually be more creative, right? If you're one or the other, if you're too technical, I'm sorry, the music industry is all about feel and inspiration. So you need to master creating your art. But if you are too artistic and too loose, then your career becomes like a sailboat. And wherever the wind is pushing you, that's where you're going to go. You want to be that ship where you're going and you know how to navigate your career. You know what to say yes to, you know what to say no to, you know when to wait, you know when to press the green light. If you understand and do proper planning with proper setting of your own expectations and how realistic your goals are, then you will be able to thrive and you'll be able to operate with the most important quality necessary for succeeding in the music industry, patience. It's so important, right? The majority times in music, it will be like nothing for 4 to 5 years. Nothing. And then you will open one door, boom.
Wow.
Yeah. The perfect example is my case when I started my sync licensing business, my production team. We spent 2 years writing 2 to 3 songs every single day. Sending them out, nothing. No. We get a lot of like, oh, this is cool, this is good. So your hopes get up, right? And you know, having worked in Hollywood,
Right.
it sucks when you like talk to the guy and they're talking big game, there's nothing behind it.
Wow.
So you have to deal with that. But then we even went to a conference. We put like 3 G's down for this conference. I had no money. This isn't COVID, right? We just went to it and nothing happened.
Wow.
But then 6 months after that, then we got our first placement in the TV show in BET. And then another placement came. And then another placement came. And then we started seeing the songs getting like $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. Then we got a project that was $15K.
Oh, wow.
And that just started to expand and explode. And so I realized, like, once you learn how to make music, right? Because that's the first part. If you don't know how to make music and it's not good yet, just don't worry about pursuing the career side of things. Master the art first. But once you cross that threshold and you know what you have is a solid product, then comes the seed planting time. And it can be 2 to 4 years where it just feels like nothing's happening. But you have to believe those seeds, one of those seeds will sprout and become your tree and become your thriving career.
Wow. I feel like this is the kind of thing people pay money for a workshop. Man, come on, man. Giving out some nuggets for free here.
Right. We're not even asking for donations.
Oh, wow. So how do you manage music catalog of over 1,000 songs at Oat Milk Music?
Okay, yeah. That's my licensing team, right? Oat Milk is solely about creating music for film, TV, sync placements, right? And there's a whole craze around it because it's actually a great way for any artist to be making income, right? You get one sync and that's an extra $1,000 plus back-end royalties that once it adds up.
One sync.
Yeah, one placement. And our biggest personal placement has been about 15 grand. And I have friends who've been really in the game for a while. They're scoring placements that are like 150 to sometimes trailers are doing like 500 grand for one song.
Now, let me understand. How does that work? What is sync?
Sync, really, the word just means taking music and syncing it to visual media.
Okay.
And so basically, in a movie, let's use a movie for an example. A movie will have a score, which is different. A score is when you hire a composer and they're writing backing music and they're matching it to the film and everything. Now, sync is when you take pre-recorded music, already made songs by artists and vocalists or whatever it is, and you place it into the film itself, right? So example is like Spider-Man movie. There was a score, there was a theme, there's composers, the orchestra, and then they use a song from Sway Lee and Post Malone that was like the theme song. So that would be considered a sync placement.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. So the question you're asking, how do we manage a catalog? What we do is we have a software that we use. I tag everything. I write the genres, the BPMs. If we have a different writer or artist on it, I tag all that stuff. And then we have a network of people who are responsible for selecting music and negotiating the budgets. They represent us. And then they'll hit us and they'll be like, hey, Netflix is coming out with this. Amazon's coming out with this. Paramount's looking for this kind of song. And we go back and I can fortunately just look up that song and send them a couple options. And then, you know, whatever one fits the film the best, they'll select that song and they'll put it in the film.
I get it.
Yeah.
I see. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you stay organized and ensure the timely delivery of projects, especially when managing multiple tasks?
Man, that one's always an ongoing process, right? Okay, fortunately, I do a lot of engineering, right? My first kind of income from making music was recording rappers.
Oh, wow.
And being an engineer, you have to be very organized, right? You're responsible for making sure audio is clean, things are organized. You're making sure that everyone gets the balances and the exports and everything. So that taught me a lot about the value of having a good filing system, showing up on time, being timely, and managing my time, right? Also knowing, hey, when am I overworking? When am I underworking? When am I spend too much time? When do I need sleep, all the rest? Engineering is not an easy job, nor is it an easy role in the industry. It really teaches you how to set your boundaries and set your system. And that kind of become my framework for how I stay organized and I'm able to do multiple things at the same time.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you approach composing and mixing for different types of media, TV shows, commercial, and live performances? Do you do that?
Yeah, I've done live performances. I'm a guitarist. And that's why you see all the guitars around here and everything.
I see.
Now I'm really focused on thinking like a DJ because a DJ is a curator, right? Music and music composition has changed so much because it used to be one point everyone had their own instrument and you're writing everything from scratch. Then it became sample based and now it's even becoming AI based, right? When it comes to composing music has become very modular, meaning it's put together like Legos. So I find a piece from here, I find a sample from there, I find a sample from there, and I assemble them and boom, and then we have the final product. And so nowadays what I do is I spend a ton of time listening to records. Whether I'm in the gym, whether I'm walking the dog, when I have free moment, I'm listening. And I'm a fanatic about my Spotify playlist. So every time I find a song, every time I go on SoundCloud, I'm listening all these songs and I put them in a playlist. I have a playlist for songs with the drums I like. I have a playlist for the songs with the guitars I like. I have a playlist for songs for chord progressions that I like. And so I listen to those songs. Let's say for like a film, right? A music supervisor will always be like, I want this feeling, this genre style music. Boom. Okay, perfect. And then they'll usually send a reference. It's going to sound like a Doja Cat record. So I'll go listen to songs that Doja Cat composed.
Correct.
I'll listen to what Doja Cat listens to, and I'll try to find what those artists listen to. And then I'll find the commonalities. And then honestly, I'll start to pull inspirations. Even sometimes I'll just copy drums from a song, or I'll copy like the chord progression and dress it in a different sound from the song. And I start to put everything together modularly like that.
I see. Very nice. Okay, what trends do you see emerging in music, particularly, in the Afrobeat genre?
What trends aesthetically? The trend I'm seeing, and I think people are going to hate this answer, is that there is no trend anymore. There was a time and age when you had 5 record labels, and 5 record labels had 100 to 500 artists signed to them. So when Van Halen, the rock band of the ages, put a song out, everyone and their grandmother knew about that song because that was really only it. The cost to making records was so high that only a select few artists could actually create songs.
Correct.
Nowadays, because the population of the world has grown so much, there is pockets of the internet all over the world where people are fans of jazz. People are fans of Japanese rap. People are fans of Latin music. There's a whole group of Latin artists between the ages of 18 and 25 who are doing traditional Mexican regional music. And they're popping and they're getting millions of streams per song. So because there's so many little subcultures, there's a pocket for anyone and everyone creatively. Now, if you ask me what is the commercial trend right now, anything sonically that's coming from LA, the UK, New York, and Ontario, that's what's going on. Right now, there's a lot of pop music and a resurgence of indie and alternative music and an Afrobeat We have those bigger artists like Tyler, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Which is that kind of more Americanized style of Afro pop and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I feel like she's more like,
You came from fear.
but I would not use that as a way to inform your creativity because anything can blow up these days.
True.
Anything can blow up these days. So there really are no trends. I think the best trend to follow is being yourself because I think those artists who are really themselves are the ones who are building long legacy.
Oh, wow. To add to that, what advice would you give aspiring Afrobeat artists looking to make it in the industry? Do you want to go that, or you want me to go ahead and express my thoughts on what I had in mind?
Man, I love that question, but I want to hear your thoughts
Okay.
first. Yeah.
Okay, my thought was Afrobeat has evolved over time. Beat without an S is a Nigerian thing, originated from Nigeria, which is Fela Kuti. Fela Kuti was the pioneer of Afrobeat. Then, with the influence of the diasporian influence, people living, especially London, played a big part.
Right.
The UK played a big part in shaping the trajectory of how the evolvement of Afrobeat with an S. So with the S now, taking the root thing from that Fela's type of music, which was a combination of almost everything, jazz, funk, high life. He just mastered this thing into a unique beat. Now, Afrobeat now evolved with diasporian influence and the collaborations with the Burna Boys, Drake. Burna Boy did something with Ed Sheeran, Drake, Wizkid, Davido, Chris Brown, and social media just made this thing a total different sensation. It just like a wildfire, something that caught wildfire.
Correct.
Anyway, I just wanted to chip that, so yeah, go ahead.
You bring up a really good point. The question is, what would I say to a growing Afrobeat artist, right? In my opinion, it really depends on what is your dream and your vision. Clearly, there's such a world for Afrobeat that if you just know the game of how it works there, do it. Now, I will always answer everything from the perspective of wanting to be an artist that's riding with Drake and being in these big rooms and everything. My belief is study what the top artists are doing. Study it. Learn it inside and out. Copy it if you have to and if you can. And then find a way, because that's what the general market wants. But then find a way to add like that 5-10% that's uniquely you that will be a little bit weird for the audience to understand, but put that in there. So then now you're packaging your uniqueness in something that's familiar with the general audience. Because people are, especially in America, they're pretty slow to embrace new music. There's a lot more than just song just being a good song. I saw a studio session and it was great because it was in an office space and there's a lot of non-music artists in there. And we played some sick songs to them, but no one knew how to react. Everyone honestly generally seemed like they didn't like the music. I said, man, like Americans are pretty uneducated with how to receive and listen and embrace new music. So if it's not packaged the right way with something that they already know, it's going to be a miss for them. So I would say to a new artist, if you want to be kind of in that LA label scene or New York or whatever it is, even UK, because it's a very similar playing ground, study the market, but then still retain what's uniquely you.
That's so true. So I was talking to someone the other day and he was telling me how the companies that put American Idol online, the companies that's behind all those big time shows, the radar, he was telling me that they don't even know much about Afrobeat. And I'm like, this thing has a category now in the Grammys. So as much as all the small things are happening, there's still a lot of work to be done in making Afrobeat mainstream. Although I'm excited that major stuff is still happening with Tyler winning a Grammy.
Right.
But anyways, so Brandon, what would you say is like a message you hope listeners take away from your music?
One of the biggest things to me, the most important things is love, right? Leaving a legacy of love. That is the most important thing to me. To me, music, art, business, though they are wonderful things, it's still a surface to what the truth is. The world at large needs more love, right? You've been living in the States for a while now. So you see right now how in our country, there's a lot of division going on. And there's a lot of voices that are out there that are actually seeking to create even more division.
Wow.
So for me, anytime I sit to make a record or have an interaction or whatever it is, I always look at that as a window and vehicle for love, empathy, and understanding. I have a vision for this country and the world that we can start sitting down and understanding what love really is. Because a lot of people think love is this feel-good thing. That's affection. That's not actually love. Love is when you look at the eyes of someone that you disagree with, that you don't like, or you don't understand, and you can listen to them, understanding that they're a human being and they're coming from a different place. That's
Wow.
just as real to them as it is to you.
Wow.
And the more we can use art and dance and public speaking and books and literature and all these things to help emphasize what true love is, the better our world will really actually become.
That was good. That was very good. And you answered 2 or 3 of my next questions with that explanation that deep. Love is not just what you say.
Yeah.
It's more of what you do, who you are. I love that.
Love.
I love that. And see, that's why I love this dancing, this dances that you guys see on this channel. When you see a lot of the performers, the way they express themselves, the way they just move, you cannot be thinking about hurting somebody when you're in that space. You can't be thinking of my bills are not paid. See, look, the fact that is that you are alive.
Yeah.
You are life. Without life, nothing else that you're worried about you can happen, right? So enjoy being alive. Be present. And when you bring that to your music, to your dance, to your art, it shows. It's a flow. It's there. It's beautiful.
Amen. I think we need an offering now. That was deep.
Okay, a couple more questions. So where would you say is the least uncreative, is it uncreative is the word, or the least unusual place that you got an inspiration to do something in music?
Oh, man, that's a great question. The car. There's something I love about being in the car, and it's a very just manual task, right? But I will just go in the car, and something that is important to me or something I want to visualize, I will just run it as I'm driving over and over. And I don't recommend this at home. It's something I learned how to do with practice, but I'll just get in the car and I'll just be running things in my head over and over again. And I get so many songs. The other one too is dreams. Like I'm big into dreams. And I've had dreams where I saw something that would happen in the future and then it happened, right? Or job opportunities. And a lot of times I'll get melodies in my head and I'll wake up and my poor wife, I'll just have to voice memo what I heard to it and stuff. Those are really big inspirations. But one important thing too is learning to be able to extract inspiration wherever you are. I think is very necessary, right? It's funny because now my current job, I'm an in-house producer for a record label, but though we have a $100,000 studio at our facility, I actually like working at the desk in the office with all the other office workers. Something about the mundaneness of it gives me a lot of inspiration. And I'm not sure where that comes from.
You just keep things simple. It gives you your familiar person. I guess what I'll add to that is some people think is until you are in this multi-million-dollar studio, that's when you can create stuff. That's not true.
Yeah, that actually, have you seen people write better songs when they're just by themselves at their home?
Yes. Like I was sharing with you, I get so excited about what's happening in Afrobeat today because I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. As a matter of fact, I grew up from Ajegunle. Ajegunle is a real ghetto part of Lagos. And when I say ghetto, some people think Compton and Inglewood is ghetto. This is ghetto on another level.
Right.
With all the challenges we face with electricity, lack of good water, good roads, and this whole kind of music comes from this place. So imagine if this artist can come from there and now be on a world-class place like Hollywood or Orange County. The creativity would just go to who knows?
Yeah.
So Brandon, where can people follow you or learn more about you?
Yeah, please follow me on my Instagram, on my socials, on my TikTok. They're both the same tag. It's THE_Brandon Miranda. My website is brandonmirandamusic.com, and that's where you can find anything about my teaching programs, my courses, my mixing, my mastering services, and just keep up to date. And two, like, I'm always down when I can to just DM people and give them advice. This is one of my favorite things to do because I know exactly what it's like to have a dream and believe in it, but just not quite necessarily have the resources to make it happen yet. And my heart has always been for how can I help other people who want to be doing what they love to do for their full-time career, how can I get them there?
Wow.
So please just reach out to me, and when I can, I will apply. I will send you resources. My goal is I want to see more people making more money in music, which means making more good music.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Brandon, it's been a pleasure having us in your home, welcoming us to and telling us what you do and how you do what you do. We'll be bringing you more episodes in the future. As a matter of fact, we will be doing some workshop with Brandon, so stay tuned. It's for people that want to take this career to another level and people that want to take things serious in their life. So it's not for the general public. So I will be dropping the information, and if you really want it, you know how to get it. You will know how to get it. So Brandon, what I was thinking is we'll run a play, we'll do a workshop, and people that are interested, that want to get more information to take their career to another level, you can pre-register now. Just put the hashtag AGE in our DM so we know that you came from today's podcast. You get some coupon for signing up today because you listen. You get can we do 50% up? I think we can do 50% up just for the people that put hashtag AGE in our DM. So do it, and we will come back to you guys again. All right, Brandon, is there any last words you have to say before we wrap?
No, Ike, just thank you so much for having me on. Seriously a pleasure. And I'm excited. Let's do episode 2 if we can make it.
Okay, thank you guys. All right, it's a wrap. Like we say in Hollywood, it's a wrap.